Hello, hi there, it's time for some writing advice, and if you can hear the pan and everything going on there, I'm making pancake. First of all, I feel super weird about my brows today because I used this new brow pencil. I don't know if it actually looks bad, it just looks something I'm not used to. Anyway, we are going with this look today, and I thought I'd talk to you about something I already talked about on TikTok, so if you don't already follow me there, do so. I also post a lot on Instagram, both accounts, Senja.Laakso and Storyly. Storyly is more for writers, Senja.Laakso is more for my readers, but both are worth checking out. I talk about my inspiration, for example, on both of those profiles, so you know, go ahead and check those out. I'm also on Threads and here. And don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter because I have an idea on what I'm gonna do to surprise my newsletter subscribers this year, and it's going to be big. So yeah, go and check out my newsletter. You can, for example, go to senjalaakso.com, so my website, and on the front page you'll find all the information you need to sign up for my newsletter. But anyway, to the topic, which is a topic you have probably heard a lot about. So plotters, patchers, planners, discover writers, and all of that. I will start by telling you a little bit about my background in how I figured out that I'm a discovery writer. And yes, I am a discovery writer. I have tried planning. It just wasn't for me. So I have some points, and I have some points that work for both planners and discovery writers, and a lot of tips actually do work for both. So I still have something for you. Don't go away, don't worry, but this video is more about how you are going to find out if you are a planner or if you are a discovery writer. So this is for all of you, no matter which you think you are. And so if you follow me on TikTok, you have already heard about my story of becoming a writer and figuring out my way to write. So originally when I have started writing, I started by just writing. So discovery writing, I sat down, I began writing, and that's how it went basically. I think that's how most people start out. They sit down and start writing. That's how you write your first book, or maybe at least start writing your first book. I don't know if everyone will finish that way, because I feel like so many planners get stuck without outlines and stuff, and on the other hand, my experience as a discovery writer is a little bit different because I get stuck with an outline, more or less. So I started when I was a child. I've written my first book series, yes, full-length book series. They were full-length novels. Some of it was very cheesy and cliche, obviously, because I was 10 or 11 or both. Maybe I was 10 and 11 when I wrote it or something. I might have even written the last ones when I was like 12. But anyway, they were still super cliche. I wrote them in Finnish back then. That I was starting to write in English around that time. And I also have a book written in English, like my very first book written in English. I still have that somewhere in my files. But no, you will never see those. And there's actually some similar books that have come out in the last maybe 4 years. That one of them especially is super similar to what I was writing when I was 11. I can reveal that's YA Fantasy, the book that I'm talking about, but I'm not gonna say which is the one that most resembles my idea from back then. Maybe I should have written it because I know this book is super popular that I know is kind of similar to it. But anyway, I am not going to publish those works that I wrote when I was a child, a literal child. They are cheesy cliche, and they just are kind of... No, it's not my style anymore, and they're very, very cheesy. Especially the romance of them. And yes, I've been always writing more or less fantasy... I can't even talk anymore. Sorry, excuse me. I meant that I have always been writing more or less fantasy romance, but also romantic fantasy, so even when I'm writing like fantasy first, so it's romantic fantasy, or like fantasy with a romance subplot, I've always been writing romance in my stories either way. And even when I've been writing like I sort of wrote these like crime novels at some point, and even they were more, like now I would probably edit them a little bit and they would be like romantic suspense or something. So yeah, romance is heavy in all my books, and yes, I am writing fantasy, so you will see fantasy and romance mixed in my books one way or another now and in the future. But never say never, just, you know, something like romantic suspense. But I wrote those things, and I wrote all of those and many other projects that I'm not going to tell you more about. I wrote all of them as a discovery writer. So I just sat down and wrote. Obviously, I may get ideas, and even back then, they still worked. I could get ideas when I was like doing everyday stuff, like anything basically. And when I got those ideas, I usually wrote them down, and I maybe or maybe not use them later on when I checked, like, wait, did I have some ideas for this work? And then I'll check those out, and oh yeah, I had this idea. I think I should do that now. It would work great in this scene, or something like that. Sometimes there are whole scenes that I get ideas for, but usually it's just me figuring out what to write when I'm sitting down. But I also think, I still think it's discovery writing when I get these like spontaneous ideas without brainstorming, and I write them down when I get them and then include them or don't include them in the final work. I guess some people would say that's kind of planning, but I still think I'm more of a discovery writer because planning did not work for me. And now I will get to the part where I will tell you a little more about how you can figure out if you are a planner or if you are a discovery writer. So yeah, I figured out that I was a discovery writer by trying out planning, because every advice was telling me that discovery writing is wrong, planning is the right way. I know that that's not all advice you will see, but at that time, there was so much advice saying that I should be planning, I should be outlining, that it's the only way. And I guess the advice was coming from good place. I don't think anyone would give like harmful advice on purpose. So it was coming from good place, but when you get writing advice, what advice you get is going to work for whoever is giving you that advice, or so I would assume. At least that's always the case when I'm giving you some advice. It works for me, but it may not work for you, and that's the whole point. Writing is so it depends so much on your personality and your individuality. Like, writers are individuals. We have like very different personalities, very different working techniques, and so on. So very different stories and working methods, and just so much. So it's okay if you are one of the people who love to outline, so a planner, a plotter, or if you can't outline. And even if you can outline, it may not work for you, because I tried outlining, I tried planning, I did this entire outline. I think I did it for at least one book, maybe even 2 books, and I will never write that story. I tried writing it after doing the outline, and even the outline was somewhat vague. Did not work for me. It took all the joy out of the story, and I never wrote it, and I never will write it, and I guess that's a pity, and I mean it is, but also it was a lesson that I needed to learn, that outlining isn't for me, and it may not be for you, but it also may be for you. So I'm not encouraging you to try to be a discovery writer, I'm encouraging you to figure out if you are. So try both. No matter, if you haven't figured out which one you are you a planner or are you a discovery writer? If you haven't figured that out, the best way to figure that out is trying out both. So try them. And perhaps don't try them with your like best idea, maybe. I mean, can, but I wouldn't recommend that. But like with some idea you have, try outlining and try starting to write after that, and try maybe even with the same idea you could first try discovery writing, and then if that doesn't work you could try the outline method and then see. And also I want to say, I don't think being an outliner, a planner, a plotter, or being a pantser or a discovery writer, I don't think it always depends on your personality and like who you are, or I don't think it has to stick. It may be dependent on which project you're working on. So you could be a discovery writer with this one project, but with this other project you need an outline. And especially when you're writing a series, you probably need some kind of ideas of, the ending and stuff. But I, for example, have an idea, a vague idea for the ending, and it usually changes a lot during writing, but I still have a vague idea of what I'm doing with the story. Like the big plot lines, I guess. Actually, not even big plot lines usually. I just usually know what's going to happen at the beginning and at the end. And then I have some ideas, maybe. If I get some ideas, out of nowhere, I'm gonna write those down and then I have them listed. But usually they're not even in chronological order until I'm writing. So yeah. And that's another thing. How do you define being an outliner, a planner, a plotter, or how do you define being a pantser or a discovery writer? And I think so many people think that discovery writers are only the ones who have no ideas except for when they're writing. They're just writing what comes to mind. And that's the truth for most part. For example, when I'm writing, that's usually what I do. That's what I'm doing mostly. But I also have some ideas that I want to include in the story, and especially when it's a series, I have some ideas on what the series, like the big idea behind the entire series is, because I think it would be so difficult to write an entire series if I didn't even know how the first book was going to end or how the series would possibly end. Usually my ideas change a lot when I'm writing. That's okay. That's completely okay. But I still, as a discovery writer, need some big picture ideas so I know, where to go. And sometimes I want to change those in the middle, and then I'm like, okay, where do we go here? And then I may, for some time, maybe I don't have, an idea for the ending or anything, but then I usually come up with something. So I think that's what's discovery writing for me. I guess there's some elements of planning there, but I don't want to gatekeep, being a discovery writer or a planner. I don't see any reason for gatekeeping, so that's what I call myself. I'm a discovery writer. Yes, there may be some small elements of planning, especially, for example, when I'm writing a series, I usually have a series Bible, and when I'm writing stuff, for example, describing how someone looks, I will add that to the series Bible, and sometimes I may even do some planning while I'm writing the beginning. I may, for example, plan how a certain character looks, or I may get an idea on how the character looks, and I will add it to the series Bible so I can go and check out what I have written over there, like what is the hair color, for example. So series Bible is something I would recommend no matter how you write. So even if you're a planner, you will probably, if you're a planner and writing a series, you will probably want the series Bible. And you could even use it for standalone. Obviously it would be like standalone Bible or something then. But you should definitely use those because it's so much easier to revise when you're like, wait, what is the color of his eyes? Because it says blue here and green here. Which one should it be? Then you can go and check on the series Bible. And usually I don't make those mistakes thanks to the series Bible, so I don't have to revise that kind of stuff. So I highly recommend using a series Bible, but you can use it for outlining, or you can use it while you write to add information there that you want to remember later on, and you don't want to search the entire manuscript for those, those pieces of information. So yeah. I guess my tip is to go and test what works for you. Maybe you are a discovery writer, maybe you're not. But the best way to figure that out is to try both planning and discovery writing. So go do that. And the other thing, is I highly recommend the series Bible or the standalone Bible. I don't know if anyone uses the word standalone Bible, but like the point is that there's some kind of file that stores all the information that you need, especially if you're writing fantasy. This will be super handy because, for example, I do some world building usually. Usually in the middle of writing already, but sometimes in the beginning too, because I have to have some idea of the magic and the stuff going on, but usually I still revise that a little bit. But yeah, at some point, either I'm writing the beginning or either I'm starting out, I usually do some world building, and I guess that's in a way planning. But I usually have like vague ideas for how the magic works and so on, and therefore I usually write those things in the series Bible or the standalone Bible. I don't know if anyone uses that word. Anyway, and yeah. And if you would be interested, I think I could share more about series Bibles. I could do an entire video about those, so let me know in the comments if you do. And if you enjoyed this video or find it helpful, please like the video, perhaps comment if you have any thoughts, questions, anything at all. Let me know if you are a discovery writer or a planner, or if you don't know yet. And it's okay even if it changes from time to time, because honestly, I still think it may depend on the project you're working on. And yeah, thank you so much for watching again. I hope I will see you soon. Bye.